Okay, this is the maple mallet, take two. Let's see here, this is the original one I made, and as you can see, it's got all checked up. Got a big old crack down the side. So I need to try and redo this, so I'm going to start with this log. As you can see, I've already driven the splitting axe into it, but it didn't split the log, so I'm going to drive another wedge in here and see if we can get this log to split. Okay, so what I'd like to do is kind of just draw a rough idea as to where I want this to be. And that looks good. So now let's carve away whatever I don't need. Let's get this close. And carve it. Okay, time to get a bit dangerous. I've got a block of 2x4 mounted to this with some screws so that I can spin this, because I gotta bore a tapered hole down through here. So let's make sure we're going the right way. And the tapered hole, yeah, this is the top. So this is my 1 3/4. It's only going to go in maybe ½ an inch or so, and then I'm going to use smaller ones thereafter. So let's see if this flies apart or if it works. Okay, looks like it's staying so far. Hopefully this doesn't fly off of here. Let's go at it kind of slow here until it starts digging in. There it goes. Oh boy, I don't like letting pieces of wood that large fly around. But it is by far the simplest way to get this done. That's probably good. Let's get it locked in. Ugh. Okay, this one's going to have to go about halfway through the log. So, let's see now. Lock that in. Here we go. Now this one's going to go almost to the exit. So I'm going to have to try and guess as to how far down to take it. Okay, let's get this out of the way. And now stop it. Let's just see what we have here. And that's a pretty crappy taper, but it'll have to be what it is. Okay, now comes the scary part. Let's see if we can actually cut straight into this. And get this out of the way. Let's see here. Okay, well, it is indeed a somewhat tapered hole. Way deep down in there needs some work though, but I don't know if I can get that far down in there. Oh well, we'll take it off and do the rest by hand. Okay, so this may not be the most romantic material to use, but I have some multi-purpose grease that I'm going to use to just smear on the ends of this so that it doesn't dry out too quick. So, let's just get this underway. This ended up being about a 3.5-inch diameter, so that should be about 11 inches all the way around. So I've already measured off 11 inches on this piece of steel, and I'm going to cut it off and see if I can bend it into a circle, and then I'm going to weld the ends and see if I can hammer it onto this. Okay, here we are at my cheap 20-ton press. And I think the only way I have to get a circle bent into this, because it is fairly thick metal, I'm going to have to use the press, and I think I'm just going to use this bearing and press it into these shaped blocks here. Okay, well, we've got our circle roughly formed anyway. This is going to take a heck of a lot of manual bending, I have a feeling. It might just be that I use too thick of material. I may have to go with something thinner. Okay, so after a little bit of tweaking, you can see we have our ring roughly formed. Now it's time to just weld the seam here and then work this little kink out of it by hammering it some more. Okay, let's see if we can pound this ring on here. Whoa. Might need to clamp it down. Okay. Okay, let's see here. We're getting ready to put the plate on this side of the mallet, and we're going to cut it out of this old telephone battery housing. Okay, now comes the more artistic part. This circle is roughly round. It's missing a chunk right there, but that's okay. And the tangs aren't exactly all the same size, but I think that gives it more of a medieval look. But anyway, I want to make each one of these tangs more of a clover style. So I'm going to cut into the base a little bit and cut into the top a little bit and see if I can't give it a 3-leaf clover look. So that when I bend it over, I'll put a lag bolt right in the middle of each of those clovers. Let's just see how this works out with one of the bigger tabs. Well, it's not exactly perfect, but it's not too bad, I guess. I'll just do that with the other 3 and call it a night. Okay, given my limited artistic abilities, it didn't come out too horrible. I don't know if we're going to get a good view of them. But the next step is to bend these over, I think I'll drill a hole through the centers of these first for the lag bolts, and then I'll bend these over and sink a lag bolt into the side. And the bottom, this ring is also going to get 4 lag bolts around its perimeter because it likes to fly off. And hopefully that will be good enough. Okay, so now it's time to start drilling some pilot holes. I'm going to go with an 1/8-inch drill bit before I go up to the 1/4 inch. And I'm going to use some WD-40 as a cutting fluid. Now, it's a good idea to clamp something up into something much easier to hold on to when you're working on something like this. So that's what I got here. Let's see how it goes. Now we just got to rotate it and repeat. And then we'll move on to drilling the pilot holes into this.
I'm going to put it up there.
Okay, now it's time to start bending the clovers over. No, I gotta put it in a certain way. I gotta put it in like this, because we are gonna bend it backwards. This is probably one of the crappiest vices to use for this, but it's the only metal vise I got. Don't mess with that, buddy. Okay, let's see what we can do here. Now we just got to get it level with the ground. That ought to do. Let's see what it looks like. Hopefully it didn't crack. Okay, it doesn't look like it cracked, so we should be able to get the other three. Okay, here we go. I've pounded this down about as far as it wants to go, and now it's time to put in one of my lag bolts. So I measured just the shaft of the lag bolt, and it measured, what was it, 11/64. And as luck would have it, I have an 11/64 bit, so we're going to see if this is a good idea or not. So let's just drill a hole and see how this works. Okay, here we go, 7/16. So let's go ahead and ratchet this in there and see how well it fits. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like when I get all of them on there. Okay. Okay, and so here we have what I'm going to consider the finished result. We have a nice sturdy plate on this side to hammer things and not damage the wood, and it's bolted on here so it's not going to fly off. And then for this end, this is just a wooden mount that's going to eventually mushroom to try and hold this ring on, but for the meantime, these bolts will hold the ring on. So this ought to be a decent pounding tool. Okay, now it's time to give this hammer a test run. I just took a couple whacks at this and it didn't fly apart, so I have faith that it's going to work. Okay, watch out, buddy. I don't want you to get hurt. Let's try the other side. Yeah, that's producing quite a whack. Nope, but you can see, well, I don't know if the camera can see, but it definitely dented some plywood.
Can I see?
And that concludes that mallet build.